Why are those larger than this one? And I mean, this would be
Well,
truck traffic, right? Trucks go through
yeah,
here.
yeah, quite a bit actually because of the Chester Bridge and everything. But
It says 15 more feet in this direction if you.
the way, and I'm taking Andy and David, they used to work Johnson.
Yeah, Dave Johnson.
Word on it, but basically they said the smaller you get, the slower the
That's true.
advisory speed.
That's true.
So they said if you went any smaller than 140
But this is
foot,
45, right?
it's 45,
Deerwood's 45.
right?
What's the other one we just made?
K and 25.
K and 25 is 45.
Is it? Okay.
So anyway,
Again, that's kind of why I made the assumption, but Jake was there and Jake, he didn't seem to care. In fact, he thought it would even could go down to 140 foot, which I thought, man, that,
first of all, we need to be looking at. Really, you got to be looking at worst case if something like a Starbucks is going to go in and plant there because we're not moving Starbucks.
right. But anyway, this is what they gave us. The developer was okay with that. If they said if we went with what I drew up, did you see that at
Yeah.
least? Okay. That was 180 footer, and I didn't go to this level of detail, but I did do it where I thought right in that sidewalk would be. And I erred on the side of caution with what I was doing, kind of like what you said, and it was a lot more detrimental to the business. But they're looking at eliminating the sidewalk along this, if they ever go that route, and going on this side.
Okay.
So that'll help with those
But you
impacts,
got-
but it'll increase the impacts
Cricket.
over here.
We're not going to be real receptive to maintaining retaining walls.
They're pretty well banking on having a retaining wall over here. That's kind of, when you talk to Andy about how this all works, and you limit that.
Yeah, nice.
In his mind, it's an urban area, and putting a curb on there helps with the clear zone issues and the retaining wall. Didn't really get into the maintenance side of things, but we can always put that in the agreement that, you know, that's the city's to maintain.
Yeah, it could be part of their side street system. We maintain 51, they get it.
I think a lot of that went on Jackson too, where
We don't
in some.
typically get into business of accepting retaining. Now, I get it in St. Louis, those urban areas. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know what arrangements they work out up there. I know that generally when I talk to bridge division guys who don't design retaining walls anymore, I think that they consult those out. But back when they designed retaining structures for us, generally, we would, unless it's like on the interstate system. So you see those big MSC walls on the interstate system with the MoDOT logo on them. Obviously, we maintain those, but generally, we don't try to keep retaining walls for us to maintain. Really have to wait to.
Yeah, maintenance, you know, and it would be an M job if we had to do anything.
Anyway, well, I just details that are way off, but it never hurts to think ahead on that stuff and just make sure that.
Which I think I could write the agreement up to where we split in the agreement says MoDOT's not maintaining wall.
Yeah,
There's
we got into. Because obviously they want to maximize their property size along 61 and the interstate there. And Andrew was all about, well, you build a retaining wall. I'm like, number one, that's very expensive, really expensive. We don't want to maintain a bunch of retaining walls up and down 61.
My first
Fortunately,
concern,
Shell, he's like, yeah, we're not doing it.
my first concern. on
Well, you don't
clear
miss
zone,
it.
which I don't know what, once you add a curve and roundabout, does that eliminate? I know,
No, I mean, it doesn't eliminate it. If you get a curve, that doesn't protect your clear zone.
that's what I thought, but I hadn't had a chance to look into it. I know when we had that same discussion with Jackson, basically told them, no, you need to slope it back and make sure that there's nothing in.
If, you know, you might be able to make the argument, whoever designs it, it will require design exception. The speeds to the roundabout are so slow that should there be accidents, they're not gonna be on the speeder side within the clear zones, but it's not, it doesn't eliminate. the clear zone. If it's below 35 mph posted, you might not make the clear zone, but not,
Which I,
it won't be, because the posted speed is not what the roundabout is.
they're probably gonna shoot to the other posted speed now that we change it.
I've been down there.
Well, they don't get to do that. Yeah, that's.
It's probably gonna be a discussion.
Summer.
Anyway, then the other big topic of discussion was this entrance right here. We wanted to do what this study said. Basically,
Well, they live in California.
the guy- and Brent let me know too, that the developer has a lease Starbucks for more than half the year.
It's nice, smaller scale.
They felt like they had reached out to us to work with us to what would work. And that conversation had already been had, we'd already kind of given the blessing on what's there now. New changes to this access, Starbucks is probably gonna have
Dogs.
on the field. I don't know, I asked them if they had actually. Just
Came
Starbucks,
back
they kind of
late Saturday night or Sunday morning.
didn't answer that question.
Yeah.
Thunderstorm.
But it may be more
Yeah,
Bluff.
than
and by
anything,
the time we got home.
but
The dogs.
their argument, and it's not a bad argument, but we're with this Starbucks without even considering
They had
it.
that entire stand.
We're eliminating
Yeah,
two
standing
access
seam.
points. There's a silver line to it. We're also,
Open the.
if Starbucks goes in, we're making this.
Right.
So there's more of an argument to, well, we didn't do exactly what's in the study, but we did.
So I got thinking about this a little bit afterward, just don't know why it didn't pop in my head initially, but I know the concern is right in here, if you get anybody stopped here, you know, or make it real lazy right in, right? You got somebody coming around the curve there, there's the chance for a rear end collision.
Stores, but so much.
I think that's true.
I mean, if you have the.
But
Suppose balloon company.
I don't see this ever being a situation where it's completely backed up, because this is such a long path. through the
That was
drive-through.
discussed.
Okay,
And had it been the opposite, where their driveway started here, then you got,
Yeah.
then you got a problem.
Reason I
I
thought
think we
throughout
would have
this
brought
week.
that up early on. Not, this not even considered, we'd say,
Must have
well,
been.
you're driving, you're gonna back up, so we want the circulation.
only thing about, and my only thing about them saying, we felt like this was settled, you're breaking, we brought this up already. My understanding
I kept
is
trying to send.
the roundabout was
emails while
antiquated at that time, right?
And I had.
It was an
everybody in my
idea
box.
More than
Something
anything,
must have
so
hit
they
it
were
with
gonna
a
pursue it no matter
big
what, they were
attachment.
waiting on their study,
It
so the
wouldn't
study
say
wasn't.
you can't put
Did
everything
Jake
in
and
the
Daniel know
box,
that?
so
They didn't know. Okay.
Is the orange lines the right of way
Yes,
or proposed right of way?
What did Jake think
It's
about
been a
the
while since I've looked at that thing.
entrance right in right out?
It doesn't go really for
I
anybody
think
else until Dr. Haskell.
all things
Yeah.
considered,
Sign it first, so I'm asking Greg,
I
did you
just
get
get
it?
one
Did you
bit.
see it? Did you sign it?
he
He's
hasn't
like, no, I didn't
like
see
he
it.
said, but he's probably okay with it. Matter of fact,
I'll wait on Dr. Haskell.
that's what they did discuss early on, is that we could probably live with it.
Yes.
Concerned.
But that was before the study.
Yeah.
Well,
Your drawing doesn't show the additional access management.
It doesn't, I don't know why they didn't do that.
Just like, so I wondered, you talked about that extra entrance that's a little bit further to the north, and I just kind of wondered, are you gonna have people trying to whip in there, maybe outside of that? Right.
so the splitter island, we'll just have to know it's on, it continues to go on out.
Well, but will that splitter island extend all the way up to where?
It didn't
You know,
show
you
it that
know
way in the
extra-
study.
That extra lot to the north, I
Yeah.
wonder if someone might try to zip in there and make a left,
I think
so
that,
they could go and slide through the parking lot without having to go all the way
There's no
around the.
reason- There's no reason for, I mean, they can be, it's no problem to go through the circle and come back.
Right, but somebody's going to try to cut that off. I'm sure.
It'd be like Andy.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess all that being said, I told them I would get back and we discuss it internally, what we talked about, and get back with them. I said, but I didn't want to be too blunt, but I didn't want to leave them hanging either, but I said, there's a possibility that we might not issue. I don't know that that's the right answer.
Yeah, well, before we do something like that, we're gonna want to get large buy-in. I know we're very particular on those things, but that would get elevated, I think, if we, not saying we shouldn't necessarily, but if it does get to that level, Brent's gonna be calling on it again, so.
The question is, are we gonna write a DE support letter for, that Andy went ahead and submitted anyway?
We have to,
We have to?
or else it won't make it through.
I know, but
He says.
yes, I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of, because we were having, internally, well, Andy's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and force the issue, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a little uncouth for a guy who a year and a half ago would have had a completely different take.
Right.
So I started to send you something like that and be like, oh, really?
My opinion is.
Jason, are you sitting here? Is that your stuff? I'm not going to.
I don't know.
And
what
I don't know that we can get this detailed in the support. Because it seems like the leaves are kind of vague at times, but we could write, we support the access management, concepts, roundabout concepts with the understanding that we've discussed right away at Starbucks, and it'll be, there won't be an impact
Take him a walk.
on
Here, this huge
on the
snap,
future
fall
design.
and heat stress from the
Yeah,
lower
that's strong. It
street.
almost looks fine. I mean, some of their parking's gonna be gone. Did they talk about moving the building hall to accommodate the drive-through?
Far along, that they
Oh, yeah. Said it was still back. Whether or not they're sure about that. Yeah. They said they'd pack up the bus.
make some bets below. but- Yeah. I mean, it's down there. I was just at Sonic. Right, is that T?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it, man. Don't do that.
Scooter solid almost.
Just feel like the culture, like certainty and commitment, such this is what will be.
I did check in yesterday, but email, so, but I did check in some control.
Morning, or
He did a shop.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I know she's heading out on a vacation, but I didn't know if it was
The
today.
reason behind. it.
Yeah, I don't think she
is. Go back with a lot of positions from the public and whatnot.
Well, we'll go ahead and get started then. We don't have a quorum, so we can't take official action. But we'll go ahead through the agenda. Let's still do introductions. We'll start with Drew.
Drew Christian, CMO-RPC. Rodney Bullinger, City of Jackson.
Ryan Shumplin, City of Cape Girardeau.
Good morning, Jay Knudsen, representing the county.
Oh, Chris Crocker, MoDOT, sorry.
Jake Wayne, MoDOT.
Joe Killian, MoDOT.
Alex McElroy, SEMPO staff, and online we have Tom Caldwell, Jonathan, Marla Mills, Scott Emmelkamp, Cecile Cochran, and Daniel Whitecamp.
Afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi there. Good afternoon.
And Marla, just for the minutes, we do not have a quorum. We have 4 voting members present.
Got it.
Okay, so the May meeting minutes will have to be postponed. We do have notes from last month's meeting, which we did not have a quorum for, so let Alex know if you have any changes to that. Communications from the chairman, I have none. Public comments regarding items not on the agenda. think we have anyone today. All right, we'll move into new and unfinished business. First up is the SEMPO Region Trail Connection Study.
All right, so we do have our consultants with us via Zoom, and they're prepared to give us a 10 to 15-minute presentation on our trail connection project.
Yep, I put together a PowerPoint. I'll just run through that. Let me share my screen. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, so again, today we'll just do a quick recap of the last time we were there, which is last month at your previous meeting. We do have or have had a online survey out there in the community. So we have some preliminary results I want to go through with you guys today. And then we started on the looking at different alignments, and I want to talk about the schedule and some important public outreach that needs to happen before August, and then next steps. So in the kind of last meeting, we went through some of the kind of tasks, and we're kind of transitioning between the task 2 kind of level of effort and moving into the task 3. So looking forward towards task 3, we've got, to develop 3 different alignment options, develop a matrix to help evaluate the merits of the different options, and then kind of get into more details on analyzing the pros and cons of those different alignments. We will see you twice. So in this task, so this is the first time that we'll kind of start showing you some of this information. So that's the virtual meeting, and then in August we'll be there in person for the August 7th meeting, and then also we'll have a public meeting that evening. So this was some of the mapping that we had showed you on the last meeting. So just taking the GIS information that we received and started to developing existing conditions, some of the bike routes that were identified in previous studies are on this map. And then we went through and also developed some mapping for the different destinations. But since we had our previous meeting, like I said, we had a survey go out there. So it became live on June 18th. We, coordinated with Alex to talk about, placement of the yard signs, potentially up to 15 locations. Alex, I'm not sure if those went out, or if you got those done yet, but did you get those signs put out there?
Yes, Scott, so I have them on order. It was placed prior to last week before I left town, and I'm just
Okay.
waiting on proof to.
Okay.
So it'll be a little bit longer until they're ready, but they are on order.
Okay, that's good. So it's in progress. So again, the turnout or the responses to date have only been 31, but if the signs aren't out there yet, then I would expect that once the signs are out, we should get more responses. But we asked them where they lived. 55% were in Cape and 24% in Jackson. Which trail systems do they use? It looks like majority uses both. But 80% have to drive to get to the trail. 61% a few times a week use the trail. We asked them how they use the trail. So exercise, outdoor enjoyment were the top ones. And then, looks like at least of the respondents so far is that the majority are taking, 42% are taking, shorter types of bike rides or walks on the trail. Only 6% are over 20 miles. And most are doing their rides with their friends. We asked them about destinations. So, Jackson, the riverfront, Osage Center, Cape Woods Conservation, My Daddy's Cheesecake, and Dairy Queen were the ones that were mentioned fairly frequently. Trail use, 74% recycling, 61 running, 45 walking. So it is a pretty good mix, but cycling is the number one. And then, so of the comments that we got, almost, was majority was, they just want this connection between the city of Jackson and the city of Cape Girardeau. So that was kind of kept repeating over and over. Then, other destinations were downtown Cape, the river, Jackson Park, and Litz Park. And then we asked them about their likes and dislikes. So there was positive responses about the current trail system, but they just wanted more. Comment about feeling unsafe in some areas of the southern end of the Cape LaCroix Trail, uneven surface, which we obviously know about, some narrow spots and blind corners, and then poorly defined route in Jackson. Roadway, Kings Highway. So these are roadway concerns. So Kings Highway was mentioned most frequently, followed by William, Mount Auburn, Jackson East Main, Old Cape Road, and Greens Ferry. Also, Kings Highway, most of the intersections they said they had some concerns about. So, and then the final question was, what, do you have any other concerns? And it was just basically the ones that filled that out just wanted more connections and, more distance in the trail network. So, like I said, to try to kind of beef up the promotion of that, getting those yard signs out there, and then continuing to do social media and website announcements for the online survey, and anything else that we can do to try to get some additional responses would be great. Okay, but typically in a survey like that, we would leave it live for at least a month to 6 weeks. So we're still have plenty of time to get responses for that. Okay, so we have been kind of going through the existing data and starting to look at different alignment analysis. And so this map kind of is what was developed as part of the Lockmuir study. And looking at all the different routes, we decided to kind of start with that as a beginning point and really look at what would be the most direct route between Cape and Jackson. So things highlighted in yellow, those are kind of the north route and the south route were the most direct and kind of connected destinations that we thought would be good. So and looking at those in more detail, we looked at what is the length, what is elevation change, what is the quantity of parcel impacts. So sometimes these alignments can be within the right of way, and sometimes they can't. So that has an impact of a number of parcels, and obviously you guys know the more parcels that you're impacting, the more challenging that's going to be. We also looked at where we would need bridges, like either pedestrian bridges, something like that. And then, if there would be at grade crossings, where would those be located? And then we also looked at, is that path within the right of way? Which side of the street is it on, or is it a separate path? And something I'll show you a little bit is that Strava, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's a kind of a fitness app. But if you have it, you can track your exercise things. But it also, with GPS, marks locations where the Strava users are riding or walking or running. So that's kind of interesting information in terms of showing, at least for the Strava app users, which routes that they are using more than others. So we took those kind of LG routes and got them into GIS and Google Earth, and so those are the two areas. The one in red is what we're calling the north route, and the purple one is the south route. And then we started looking at more detail of what those connections would be. So we'll focus in on the north route first. And so that one is about 7.12 miles long. It's, again, a lot of that is within rights of way. So the adjacent parcels are 43, 26 are residential, 10 are agricultural, 2 commercial, and 5 are what was being defined as exempt, which we're assuming right now is kind of some kind of institutional property. There would be new structure or new pedestrian bridge required over 55 at County Road 306 to make that connection. We've got a couple of stream crossings at Cape LaCroix watershed and a couple of smaller ones along Old Orchard and Bainbridge Road. Also, looking at grade crossings, we've got a total of 20 for the basically it's 2.8 crossings per mile. So that would include signalized intersections, stop signs, a roundabout, and a mid-block crossing. So on the north route, there's about the elevation range of that, starting from the low spot, which is down towards Cape. It's about elevation 380, and it goes up as high as elevation 560. So with all the ups and downs, and you can see on the Google Earth image, that red line is the route, and then what's below it in the red is the kind of elevation profile. So it's exaggerated. It's not as bad as it looks here, but generally it kind of shows you the ups and downs. So there's about 780 feet of elevation like gain up and 817 feet down. So, and again, according to Google Earth, there's the maximum slope is 15% and up and 12% down with an average of 3%. So that's just kind of the basic statistics of that. The percentage of slopes you got to take with a grain of salt because it's Google Earth, so they wouldn't have the most accurate terrain information that you would get if you focused in on an area and got an actual survey. But that's just what the statistics were telling us. And then we focused in on the south area alignment, and so that's the one in the purple. And the statistics for that one's a little bit longer. It's about just over 8 miles. That one, there's not as much opportunity to be within the right of way for those that kind of alignment. So there's 95 potential parcels that would be impacted, 46 residential, 33 agricultural, 8 commercial, 6 institutional, and 2 of the parcels along that route didn't have any data in GIS. So, and again, like the north route, there is some structures that we'll need, and there's more than in the previous one. And then there's a similar number of at-grade crossings, but they're a little bit more frequent at 2.5 crossings per mile. In this one, the elevation range, according to Google Earth, goes from elevation 377 up to 548. There's 961 feet of up and 1,015 feet of down. Again, maximum slope is shown at 20%, 40% down, but then the average is 4.2% up and 3.7% down. So south route is longer, more elevation gain, and potentially steeper slopes than the north route. And so this is the kind of Strava, what's called a heat map that is out there. So, and the way to interpret that, this is that the brighter areas, oops, go back, sorry. Brighter areas are hotter, which means there's more frequent use. So the area, let me see if I can highlight it. So the area right in here where the existing Cape Trail is has a lot of heat, and where the existing trails are in Jackson have more heat. And then kind of generally the north area has more frequent users than the south area. So again, that just kind of reinforces some of the things that we were thinking about, and we can dive into that in more detail as we continue our analysis. But they have, looking at, this is just the bike. You can also look at, walking and running too. So we'll look at that. Just want to quickly go over the schedule. So we're here at July 3rd, and like I said, we've got a steering committee meeting coming up on August 7th, and we'd also like to do our public meeting then. So what needs to happen in terms of outreach is, still trying to get as much, input on the survey. And then at the public meeting, we'll go into more detail on these different routes and get public reaction to that. So that's kind of the next thing. So again, keeping it fresh in people's minds. And Alex, I can work with you separately on, when announcements need to go out and things like that. But and we need to think about location and things like that and time for the meeting on the 7th. So online survey, getting that out and promoting it. We're going to continue our data analysis and exploring these alignment options, and then we'll start prepping for the August 7th meeting. So that's the presentation. Are there any questions?
Just as an update, we do have the survey on SEMPO's social media. We have a Twitter and a Facebook account, and it's also on the SEMPO website. And then I'll work to get announcement through SEMPO newsletter dedicated to the survey as well.
Has just a general question, has the committee taken the survey yet?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Okay. I definitely, within your own networks, your neighborhood associations or whatever, you can get that information out there. That would be terrific. Let me stop sharing.
I thought it was interesting. I know this is, we're still preliminary on the survey, but 10% of the respondents indicated they use the system, the trail systems to get to employment.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that seems pretty significant. And,
that is, because you typically don't see that, trails being used that much for, commuting to work. So I think that's a great sign.
yeah, and if that continues to hold, then certainly proximity to neighborhoods is going to be a high priority, I think, when you're looking at the potential alignments.
Absolutely.
So are we just looking at 2 right now, or do you think there's a possibility of additional alignments that might be looked at?
I think, we've got in our scope to have 3, and we're trying to see if it makes sense to, so we've got the 2 main ones. There might be other opportunities that go further out, or we can focus in on trying to make connections to the county parks, because that's going to be a bit of a challenge, and maybe some of the other destinations. So that's something that we'll kind of figure out between now and the 7th when we have the public meeting. But basically, we need to kind of go through all these different, opportunities and see what makes the most sense. And if routing, way out doesn't, just in terms of what it goes to and what the potential infrastructure cost would be, then, that one would get rolled out anyway. So I think trying to get connections to, the county parks would be something that I think would, be something really good to try to focus on.
Sounds good.
This is Jay Knutson. Did I hear you say that the northern route had but a few right-of-way issues
in terms of land acquisition versus the south route?
Well, the north route, our initial analysis looked like a lot of that could be within the right of way because the street that looking at going on had a wider right of way than some of the roads in the south. So, which means that if the pathway can be developed within that right of way, there's less potential impacts on parcels. Because again, if you're outside the right of way, you've got to negotiate with the landowner to try to get an easement, as you know.
Yeah, and I'm very aware of that. And to me, it would seem like that would make the south route cost prohibitive.
It's definitely one of the challenges of the south route. So again, we're kind of just starting our analysis, and it may end up that the south route just doesn't pan out in terms of the cost. But we've got to explore the pros and cons of each route, and definitely the number of parcels that are impacted on the south route makes it less desirable, I would say.
Well, and I think the communication on this is so important. This represents one of the first big partnerships with Jackson. And so I think it's important to keep this in a very positive light. And I would think you would even do something like a press release as it relates to this versus just the websites that are available. I mean, I think this is a bit of a celebration, and I would just hate to have that celebration include bunch of fear and challenges on the south side. I would think that at some point you got to be realistic about what routes are realistic and what aren't. So it doesn't turn into a negative thing. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, and I from the 31 respondents so far, there seemed to be a lot of positivity in looking at trying to find a good route between Jackson and Cape Girardeau. So I agree. And I again, Alex, we can work together to come up with a press release and get that out, before the public meeting, and see if we can get, some folks to show up and see what they have to say. So yeah, any publicity we can get, and again, I think my gut is telling me that there is a lot of support for a safe connection. So that's our job, is trying to figure out how to do that.
Just for a little bit of background, when we had conducted the 2018 regional bike ped plan, the north and the south route connections were identified in that, with as much detail as you saw on the map with the lines. But at that time, the northern route seemed more desirable in the short term. I think due to, one, the directness of the route, but also the connections of the community destinations that it provided. And we had actually put it on an unfunded needs list at one point for our multimodal needs. So it's people, some folks, especially within the cyclist community, are pretty aware of the proposed northern route.
Yeah, and again, if you look at the Strava heat map, that northern route is what the cyclists are currently using for the most part. So, any other questions?
When would we like to start to target the first public meeting? What month are you thinking?
I think, based on our initial schedule, we were thinking August 7th would be our first public meeting. So we would have a meeting with this committee, at this time, and we'll go over what we're going to, present to or have at the public meeting, and then, we'll stick around for the afternoon and like I said, we just got to pick a good time for that meeting and a good location.
Alex, who else is on the steering committee?
Keep that written down somewhere.
So it sounds like he's talking about the TPC meeting. We want to make sure the other steering committee members that aren't a part of the TPC are informed of that meeting so they can come. Just
Yeah,
like today,
we'll
if they didn't know about it, they could have come today. And
We'll certainly notify Bruce.
if we're not going to have separate steering committee meetings, then we just need to make sure we bring them into
Yeah.
these meetings.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, we appreciate your time today. And Alex, if okay, we'll just drop off the meeting unless there's things that we need to stick around for
No.
on the.
Yes,
Oh,
Alex,
yeah.
do we have access to that presentation? That would be kind of nice to be able to kind of go back and review maybe a little bit more in depth.
Can we get a copy by PDF or PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'll send that out right after. Yeah, I haven't made PDF yet, but I will send that to you, Alex. And if you can share that to the committee, that'd be great.
We'll do that.
All right, so I think Jonathan and I will drop off and you guys have a good holiday.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. All right, see ya.
All right, up next, the SS4A Comprehensive Safety Action Plan update.
All right, our next oversight committee meeting is July 11th. Since the inception of the committee, we've held monthly meetings. I do have a handout from the June progress report. You can see identified are the next steps, which are they're looking to finalize the location prioritization, finalize the list of safety countermeasures. That's the safety toolkits that they reference. And then we're still looking to have an administrative draft, most likely by the end of July or August. And we're still targeting our third community open house in October. That'll be once all the comments are then issued based on the administrative draft.
Next up are the intersection studies.
All right, well, our Route D report, the corridor study was accepted by the steering committee. Jackson actually approved the grant agreement. They received the TAC grant to fund the sidewalk improvements. Was that Monday or Tuesday, Rodney, that was approved by Jackson board?
We won't, the Jackson board won't approve it until July 15th.
Oh, okay.
We just got notice from MoDOT on Monday. I couldn't get it on the agenda that fast.
Gotcha. I saw in the paper that they had acted on it. But for our 621 Imperialville Road, we have had the draft for some time now. With everyone's vacations hitting around the summertime, I wanted a little bit more time for people to be able to issue comments. But today is the last day I'll be accepting comments on it because we're ready to issue the final draft report. So far, we only had one comment, and that's since been incorporated in the draft. So if you have anything, please get those to me by the end of business today. As a handout, I did provide a hard copy of the current draft report for folks to be able to take with them. If you would like a quick executive summary, I could point you to a few pages within the report. Starting on page 16, you'll see the different alignment options that were analyzed. We have alignment option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And those are more visual displays of what's being proposed for each one. But then on page 22, it goes into more of the breakdown of each of those conceptual designs. So page 22 will show you how it was analyzed with the level of service, best level of service being A. That's between 0 and 10. And when you see the numeric level of service, the lower the number, the better the level of service. So going to the next page is where they have the matrix there analyzing each of the proposed alignments and the level of service they provide. Page 23 shows you the 2023 current day level of service and the projected level of service if those alignments were to happen today. And then the following page, on page 24, it shows you the outer years out to 2045. If that were the scenario of an alignment that were chosen, what that level of service would be based on growth projections up until 2045. So at a quick glance, the no build option still at year 2045 has a level of service as A at 2.2. However, alternative alignments 1 and 2 provide the best level of service. Alignment 1 is a little bit more expensive. It's considered the major realignment, has a little bit more work on the northern portion of the road. And then alignment 2 is a minor realignment, providing slightly less of a better level of service than the major alignment, but they're both very comparable. And because this does impact potentially the golf course and the city property around there, we had engaged with both engineering and our parks board to be able to get their input as well.
Has there been any follow-up on that, Jake, at all?
The golf board had a meeting last week that I was not able to make, but the staff was on board with kind of our recommendation of 2 and 5. Either way.
You know, Alex, I should say I've been pretty passionate about this and pretty close to it. This has been a pretty thorough process. I applaud everyone that's involved. I don't know if there is any perfect solution to this situation, but pretty impressed with the analysis that's gone into this, and hopefully will give us some direction on what should be done.
No, I agree.
So the next step then is what?
So the next step will be, one, if there's any comments, get those incorporated. But then once, and the business comes and I receive comments or don't, I'll be asking the steering committee to then finally accept the report.
Gotcha.
And then it'll be available to future folks or us, when that time comes that we're ready to have we have the public sentiment to make the investments and the political will to do it.
It's a mouthful. Do you have any feel for what the city's position is on it?
I think they were supportive of the study, and I think they'll be curious as to what the recommendation is from the steering committee based on the concepts that were proposed.
Would you envision at some time, some form of a presentation to the stakeholders? Versus just kind of passing it along, or I would have to think the county, the special road district, the city of Cape, of course. I just don't know if it's as burning as hot for them as it is for some of us on the committee.
And it may not be, especially since we've gone through this process and been a lot more involved. I could check with our consultants. I will say that they've already gone above and beyond what was in their agreement to conduct, especially with the public meetings for the Route D corridor, a lot of the preparation to help with the TAP application.
Well, it might not even need to be presented by them. It might be just presented from the steering committee.
You did begin somewhere.
I thought you did an excellent executive summary. I'm just saying that I think it's got to have a little bit of momentum, continuation on something like this, or they oftentimes just kind of gets put on a show.
Sure. Would you envision the presentation being before the SEMPO board, or did you have a different audience in mind?
You might, well, I would think that is a minimum. You know, I was even thinking, you know, perhaps a county commissioner, Mark Phillips for sure, and/or a board member from Special Road District, and maybe even, you know, an elected representative from the city, or Dr. Haskins. just something to get them, you know, in the loop on this. I think it's a special project because of the synergies that you have with the multiple stakeholders. And my point is that funding will always be an issue, but if you've got the multiple stakeholders that get excited about it, it might have a way to come to fruition sooner than later.
Sure. And we may be able to select the board meeting as the venue and then invite some of those individuals to.
Whatever, you've got a better feel for that. I just think expanding it beyond this group might lead to a better potential success.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you need the right people there, for sure.
Exciting stuff. But
Yeah, I think we've got
Both
two really good intersections to do those studies on.
Okay, next, moving on to the tip tool implementation.
Okay, our next implementation meeting is today, right, Drew?
Yes.
Yeah, so later today, we'll be doing, our next, we've been doing them weekly, lately we started every other week, and then as we got down to more finite nitty gritty stuff, we decided to go every week. So we're still looking, hopefully end of July, maybe early August with a go live. The last thing that we might add to it is the GIS shape files for the interactive map. It wasn't like something that we could just copy paste or had readily available. So that's gonna take a little extra work. But a large part of the motivation to change vendors was to have a better interactive map for the public use. So I'll try my hardest to make sure that is included in our final product.
Origin and destination analytics.
Oh, and if you have any tip amendments that need to be done, but they're not time sensitive, it'd be better to wait until we have our live system, if at all possible. Yes, so origin and destination, we are scheduling, and Drew, please correct me if I'm misspeaking, but we're scheduling a presentation for our TPC and our board meeting in August. So folks will be able to see the functionality of the Placer AI software that we have a subscription for now with the Cape Chamber and the Regional Planning Commission. Drew, were you able to see if the Placer folks would be able to conduct it?
The lady who would be doing it is out on maternity leave right now.
Okay.
So the lady that we're working with in the interim, our primary contact will be back, I think in another week or two. So rather than the interim lady, stepping in and taking it, I'll get with our primary contact, because she'd be the one who would be doing the demo and see if those dates work for her.
Okay.
If not, I can do it, but I just kind of figured
Well, yes, they're dealing with it every day.
they are the experts.
Yeah. So presentations are coming.
All right, so we have member reports. Jake had to leave, so he gave me his information. I'll just touch on the highlights. I think you've got a copy of all this already. Send it to you. Okay, well, let's give this. As far as our TTF projects, the main one is TTF 6 Lexington. The construction's underway. We're starting at Sprague Street, working toward Old Sprague Street Road. And the south curb line work still remains to be done between Sprague and Old Sprague, and then we're going to move west. As far as our maintenance projects, the concrete street repair for 2023, we're finishing up Perryville from Cape Rock to Sherwood. We've got to do some backfilling there. The asphalt overlay 2023 is done. We're closing that out. And then our 2024 asphalt overlay, we're going to get started on Jefferson Avenue in 500 and 600 blocks. Our capital improvement sales tax, looks like we've got a consultant there. We're starting soon. And then they're patching on Independence right now, as you probably noticed. Then the Route 4 Minnesota cost share project for that intersection. To approve the right-of-way plans, and Frontenberger is working on that. And then I guess another comment on the CIST. Nip Kelly is going to start on Forest Avenue, and then they've got a list of additional areas they're going to work after that. Eddie Jackson, Rodney?
Yeah, I will say, that our, comprehensive plan, that we've been, working with, the firm out of Chicago, Halsey Levine, been working on, it's, early 2023 is about to be completed. It's in the final approval stage with the internal city committee. So I anticipate planning and zoning commission to adopt that in the next month or two. Right-of-way acquisition for the Deerwood roundabout at Highway 61, I understand has begun by MoDOT. And as you've probably seen in the newspaper, plans for landscaping, will be on hold until MoDOT finalizes their draft guidelines for the internal island. Concrete street repair program, Puts Construction is working on that for us this year. We got patches going on right now on North Shawnee Boulevard, Bridge Road, Birdie Lane, Wedge Lane, Eagle Drive, and Auto Drive. That's on the east side of town right now. I'll let MoDOT speak to it, but I think their Highway 61 project is still on schedule. Bridge and roadway construction continues there. Still awaiting final plans and proposed cost updates from Kaler Engineering for a couple of transportation projects. The Sunset Hills Bridge replacement project, as well as the paving of Industrial Drive and the Jackson Soccer Park. So we're waiting on that so we can get those out to bid. Bacon Farmer Workman Engineers are awaiting final environmental clearances required by the TAP grant for the East Main Street sidewalk project. And once those environmental clearances are received, a very small amount of additional right-of-way needed will be pursued by the city staff. We already talked a little bit about the grant announcement for the Jackson Middle School crosswalk sidewalk improvement projects. We're excited about that. And we're out to bid on our CDBG project in the North Industrial Park. Bids will be open next Wednesday, the 10th of July. That's for the Trustworks industrial site. We're extending some streets and utilities in the industrial park. So we're rolling on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
I'm sorry, I have nothing to report.
Oh, okay. So here, CTA, University Board, Airport, takes us to Drew.
Working with Alex on the new tip software. The RPC will be having its next TAC meeting. Whatever the fourth Tuesday of this month is, the 23rd. And we'll be doing our prioritization of our projects that meeting.
That brings us to MoDOT. Who wants to start?
You go ahead.
The MoDOT 2025-2029 STIP was available for public comments earlier this year in May. Those comments are being presented to the Missouri Highway Transportation Commission for consideration and approval on July 10th. The governor has not yet signed the appropriations bill yet, but within the bill, I just wanted to point out a couple of things that are going to impact the Southeast District. We have 100 million allocated for low volume roads throughout the state. The Southeast District will get a portion of that for our routes under 400 ADT. Actually, I think there's some flexibility to that. It's like 1,000 to 400, but anyway. Also 60 million potentially coming from general revenue for US 67, and then a potential spending authority of 90 million in raise grants for the city of Poplar Bluff to work on completing their section of Highway 67 to the Arkansas border. We just announced, as you guys mentioned, the TAP awards for the South, or for the state. The Southeast District was awarded 15 projects in the SEMPO region. Jackson was the only applicant, and they were awarded funds to construct sidewalk along Highway D near the middle school and a crossing over there. Just since you're here, I would point out that Perryville, they were awarded 3 applications. So things are busy in Perryville as well. We do have the HPUN, the high priority unfunded needs list public meeting coming up the end of this month on July 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the SEMO RPC building. If you can, put the word out to anybody that's interested in that list, because those haven't been well attended in the past. We potentially have a public meeting coming up in August to discuss exit 93 and kind of where we landed on that project, as far as where we took a look at the existing bridge, determined we could rehab that bridge and extend the service life of the structure, as well as we looked at the intersection at Silver Springs and determined that it would be beneficial to put a roundabout at that location. And then closing off the ramps at I-55 at Highway 74 and on both northbound and the loop that loops around going back southbound. So we're going to present all that to the public and see what questions, comments, concerns they have, potentially in August. There hasn't been a date set for that yet. For our construction projects that we have going on, our active construction projects in Jackson, Route 61, they are currently working, or they've completed pavement from Mary Street South, and they're working on finishing up the sidewalks in that section. After the holiday, they should begin paving north to Mary Street, or north of Mary Street. The bridge is well underway, with the south indent being completed, and the north indent should be completed by the end of next week, weather dependent. Beams are planned on being set early August for that project. The Route K and 25 roundabout, currently the contractor is working on paved entrances and preparing for asphalt widening on Route K, and hopefully we'll have asphalt being placed in the next couple of weeks. There's a bridge on Route D over Bird Creek. The bridge is about 80% removed, and the contractor is preparing for the substructure construction next week. Opening is anticipated in November 1st of 2024. Highway 72 in Jackson, paving is anticipated for sometime in August. We don't have an update of when the concrete repairs are going to be completed for that portion of the railway. And then Route W, we had a pre-construction meeting just yesterday for paving from Highway 177 to the roundabout at Lexington. Paving is anticipated to start sometime in August for that project, and that will include 3 to 4 nights where they have to close down the roundabout in order to mill fill through the roundabout and get that work completed. Once we know a better schedule, we'll put that out on our website. And that's pretty much it.
Chris, question on the 61 project through Jackson.
Mhm.
Is there any idea or any thought given to opening that section, that south section, Mary Street to the roundabout or to help improve traffic flow?
Not that I'm aware of. My guess is the contractor wouldn't be real receptive to that. Probably because of the jail work that's going on as well, in that location. But I can certainly ask, and if I get a different, story from them, I'll let the group know. Since you spoke, I just kind of reminded me, we are waiting on the, whether the cost share project for the lighting section, whether that's going to be approved or not. I still haven't heard any update on that.
Okay, thank you.
I guess just a couple other things. So we had a couple contracts in our June letting. One was Route B Stoddard Scott, where we had the train derailment that's been lingering for a long time. We finally worked out our issues with UP and got that contract out for bid. That would be awarded at our commission meeting next Wednesday. So we don't know the outcome of that. We expect that one to be awarded. And then the other contract in the June letting was a demo contract on US 67 South Poplar Bluff. That's just demoing structures in preparation for the roadway work, future roadway work in that location. That also be in the commission, up for award in the commission meeting next Wednesday. We don't have a commission meeting at all we don't have a letting at all in July, so there will be no MoDOT letting in July. But the next commission meeting in August is in Poplar Bluff. So they travel the state half of the year, the commission does, and the other half of the year they stay in Jefferson City. And so we're early in the year. Last year we were in November. This year we've got the August commission meeting. Location is yet to be determined, but the date is August 7th. And then I guess I would add one thing to what Chris said about the funding that was not vetoed by the governor, the 60 million and the 90 million. Right now, I don't know if anybody read the House bill language. It was pretty vague. It was, trying to figure out exactly what that money can be used for is not real clear. So we know the money is for south of 67. What we're trying to determine right now is what the intent of that is. I think they're reaching out to the bill sponsor to try to find out the intent of that and see where that money can be used on the corridor. My understanding is that'll be part of the discussion next week in the commission's closed session prior to the commission. So more news to come on that.
The one thing I had that Chris didn't mention was, we just finished up all the pavement ratings throughout the district. We have a person in our group who goes out and evaluates all the pavements. And so we're getting ready to start up our asset management plan, our annual update, so that we can begin. It seems funny, we're just, the Highway Commission is going to approve the STIP next Wednesday. And we're getting ready to start the next cycle of what's next on the list. Kind of like just evaluating what do we need to spend our money on next as far as just maintaining our assets that we already have. So that's the only thing I had that wasn't part of what Chris already mentioned.
Thank you. Anyone else from MoDOT? No, we'll move on to IDOT. Tom?
Well, after MoDOT's detail, I have nothing further. No report.
All right, FHWA.
This is Cecily from the Missouri Division Office. I have nothing significant to report at this time. I know I have been sending around just updates and releases of grant information and any planning updates we received from headquarters I passed along. But as of right now, I don't have anything additional to add to that.
Betsy?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay, no one from FTA? All right, that takes member reports. Staff report.
Just a few quick items. One last handout. This is one pager. This is our quick summary of our work plan for the year. These are the projects that we scheduled. Our Metropolitan Transportation Plan update will be the largest project that we'll try and tackle this year. But then we'll continue on with our Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. That's the federal grant that we had received to conduct that study. And then we'll continue on with our Trail Connection Study. We'll be updating our Title VI plan along with our language assistance plans. And then continuing to evaluate our investment in the origin destination tool. But I want to bring that to folks' attention, mostly because I understand that a lot of folks have served on committees. And I don't want to over-committee folks, but with our Metropolitan Transportation Plan coming up, it really will be vital to have folks from these groups volunteer to be on those committees, just because there's a lot of subject matter expertise that gets lost if we don't have the knowledge from you guys helping guide those plans. So we'll be developing an RFP. We're putting it out. I'll have folks evaluate the proposal we receive, and then we'll be forming official steering committees for that plan update. And then just as a heads up, our July board meeting on July 17th will be at the Jackson Civic Center. Osage got a paid booking on that date, so that normally kicks us out of the room. But Jackson was very kind to open up the Civic Center for us on that date. And then, Tom, since you're still on the line, I did receive our uniform agreement via DocuSign for the IDOT funds, and I sent it on, so it should go to the next signatory for approval.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, any other business or communications today? If not, we're
I
adjourned.
have one thing. This is Cecily. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure you all were aware that Daniel Wynn is currently on military leave, and Jerry Doyle at FTA Region 7 will be taking over his duties. So if you all could just be sure to include Jerry Doyle. Alex, if you don't have her contact information, I'll get it to you. But we just want to make sure we include her in the email invites.
Definitely, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good holiday weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Marla, was there anything, I have the City of Capes update. I can send that to you by email. That'll help with the minutes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, that'll be fine. And as far as I know, there's nothing else.
okay. Were you able to get the attendees?
I think so. I just asked that you double check it when we send you the draft.
Okay, yep, sounds good.
Okay.
So, Alex, did you mention that the go live on the tip will not be until August?
Like, aren't you thinking through probably late July, maybe August, for going live with our Eco Interactive?
We had scheduled this
So-
for. We got so many on, next week, was it? Yeah, supposed.
So the reason I ask, and I waited until Federal Highway was off the line, but we rescheduled that Route K 61 project that got rejected back in March. That's scheduled for reletting in August.
Mhm.
And typically we have a meeting with Financial Service and Federal Highway in Jeff City. They have a meeting.